Welcome to the Life Given Podcast, your Wednesday morning edition. I hope that your week is going well. And in today's episode, we are going to be looking at both sides of the equation. On Monday, we looked critically at what the Black Lives Matter movement is and stands for. And on today's show, I want to look at maybe some of the positives that they have. So looking at both sides of the equation, Black Lives Matter Part 2, and redirecting their trajectory. All of this and more on today's show. Welcome to the Life Given Podcast. I'm your host, Isaac Lopez. Once again, hello to everyone listening. It's good to have you join us on the show today. There's a lot going on in the media. Locally, Idaho Governor Brad Little just issued a fine to the local brewery company that was standing up and just trying to stay in business. Also in Minnesota, Minneapolis is looking at defunding their police, and there's so much that I would like to discuss, but I want to keep my promise. I want to keep my promise and look at the other side of the equation today. Black Lives Matter movement is one that has taken social media by storm and has really created quite an environment in our country. So it's I think worthwhile to spend multiple episodes on Black Lives Matter movement because it's such a predominant thing in current events today. So to begin things, I would like to look at a verse in 2 Corinthians to kind of help us frame today's discussion and today's thoughts. This is found 2 Corinthians 1, 3, and 4. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our affliction, so that we may be able to comfort those who are in any affliction with the comfort with which we ourselves are comforted by God. So I mentioned on Monday that Black Lives Matter, I wanted to look at this side of the equation now, what they have right. And I think that one of the things that they have right probably is their motivation. I think that for a lot of people, hopefully they're motivated to help in this movement because they notice that there is something wrong or things that the Black community may have to face that other people may not have to face. And I think that those things are different than what the mainstream media is preaching and pushing. But I do think it would be ignorant of those who don't live in a community or who aren't aware of what the Black community is going through to say that there is no struggle whatsoever. And I think that there are a lot of things that we as a country can relate to all across the board. And we're going to look at a couple of those. But for some reason, the Black community struggles a lot with these. And I think that it's time that the solutions that we can be seeking are actually solutions that we should be chasing and aren't chasing right now. So the two solutions I want to offer at the end of the show may not really be what the mainstream media is pushing, but I think are more make more sense in my mind to pursue that more wholeheartedly than saying that all cops are racist and that it's institutional within the police force. So that's kind of the trajectory I want to go with today. So to begin, I think that there is a good motivation behind Black Lives Matter. I kind of said on Friday when we were discussing rules of engagement for social media conversations, it's to do not expect the worst from people. Always impute good emotions or good motivations if you want to err on one side of that. So I'm going to assume that the majority of people involved in Black Lives Matter are doing it because they want to comfort those who are afflicted. So just based off of this verse in 2 Corinthians, they want to help those who are suffering. And there is suffering going on today. but I think that they have a wrong trajectory. So, what's good about the Black Lives Movement? I think that is what mostly is good about the Black Lives Movement. And now I want to look at adjusting their trajectory to something that I think requires more of their attention. And in the first segment today, I just want to look at fatherlessness in the Black community. Many people um, that may cringe at that because it is been part of the cultural mantra to say that women are strong, women can do it on their own. And to come on and say, hey, I think fatherlessness is a problem is actually kind of a shot at that. And there is a study that came out that there are multiple studies that I read yesterday in researching for this that said, yes, this fatherlessness is yes, it's higher than those of other colors, the percentile, but they kind of chalk it off as, yeah, that may be an issue, but it's not the main issue because they believe in women empowerment. And I think that can be very detrimental, but that's an issue for another day. Today, I just want to look at what is the effects of fatherlessness. So there was a study done back in 1925, the Moynihan report, because he saw there was about a 25% birth rate, um, of babies that were born out of wedlock in the Black population. And that figure has now risen to 72% of Black babies are born to unmarried mothers. So we start seeing the fatherlessness increase over time. When back in 1940s, 1950s, Black families were built around the nucleus. And so many people may ask, what's the issue with that today? Just because there is such a big movement away from the uh, emphasis of fathers in the home. Now, people may ask that question when 40 years ago it wouldn't have made sense to ask that question. The reason that is coming to light now is just the statistical data that backs it up. As a Christian, I think that a family's stronger when a father is present and when a mother is present. But now we have to argue just over the data to show, hey, this is actually an issue now because so many people are moving away from it. And according to multiple studies, but to this one in particular, this one coming from heritage.org, it says that more than twice, this is coming from this study is showing how children act if they do not have a father in the home or if they're raised by single mothers, because it's a difficult job. So those who are raised without fathers are more than twice as likely to be arrested for a juvenile crime, twice as likely to be treated for emotional and behavioral problems, roughly twice as likely to be suspended or expelled from school, and a third more likely to drop out before completing high school. So these are just some of the ramifications, some of the effects that we're putting our kids through without fathers in the home. These are things that families will struggle with if it's just a single parent home. You're missing something with that, and I think that this correlation shows that. And the this is where I want to come to one of the solutions I would like to offer, because back in when the first welfare became when welfare first became available for people, the only way that you could qualify for it is if you were a single parent or a single mother, and if you had a certain kind of income. So it actually incentivized uh, uh, those people who maybe had a child born out of wedlock to not get married, so that way they could qualify for this welfare. And we saw that the so incentivize not getting married. And this began with the war on poverty decades ago, when it incentivized those who couldn't provide for themselves and incentivize marriage. And there's a study that showed that the war on poverty created a destructive feedback loop. Welfare promoted the decline of marriage, which generated a need for more welfare. So we're in this nasty cycle. So that you can't have one without the other now. And I think that for this segment, my solution is just in the welfare state. Don't incentivize being a single mother coming out. Incentivize, rather have those families stay together, create a more stable environment for those kids, and it would allow for these kids to have a brighter future, and just give them more hope than they have right now. Another solution that I would like to offer up is that of ending abortion. Now, you may be looking at me like, are we getting away from the issue at hand? Are we getting away from actually looking at what might be affecting Black lives, and how can we help those that are suffering today? Like, going back to our verse, how can we help those and comfort those who need comfort? And that this is my solution, because it affects Black people more, proportionately more than white people, and most other more than any other people. Abortion impacts African Americans at a higher rate. In 2011, this is coming from Arizona Capital Times. And I'll link to this in the show notes below. But the Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention, for Disease Control and Prevention, so our beloved CDC, released an abortion surveillance report. And according to this report, Black women made up 14% of the childbearing population, which is right in line with where their population is at. Yet 36% of all abortions were obtained by Black women, proportionately higher than where they are. As at a ratio of 474 abortions per 1,000 live births, Black women have the highest ratio of any group in the country. So when you use these percentages, it means that of the 44 million babies killed since the Supreme Court decision with Roe v. Wade, 19 million of those are African American babies, are Black children. And with them only constituting 13% of the US population, you tell me what's fair and what's just. That doesn't seem right. Killing our own babies is crippling this nation, and it's crippling families, and that starts with the fatherlessness problem that we addressed in the first segment. And now I haven't been able to do more investigating on this, but there are statistically, in 2012, the same study showed that almost 80% of Planned Parenthoods are within walking distance of minorities, of minority communities. We've actually caught on tape Planned Parenthood executives saying that we need to exterminate those. Bleep. So you tell me what's racist. You tell me what's systematic. Planned Parenthood, if you wanted a view of a company that is truly systematic in something, look at the systematic murders that are happening within Planned Parenthood. Why aren't we taking care of them? Why aren't we marching on them and saying, hey, stop killing our babies? We need to make a change, and that change is abolishing abortion. So there's your two solutions. In the welfare state, get fathers back in the home, fix the nucleus within the home. And your second solution, quit killing your babies. Quit offering them up to be slaughtered. It's time to end abortion. So bring the fathers home and abolish abortion. Those are your two solutions. So thank you so much for tuning in today. I would love to hear what you have to say and your feedback. And if I got a little bit into it, well, it's an issue that I'm starting to become more and more passionate about as I research more and more and get to figure out more and more what I believe. And I hope that that helped you as well. If you want to get in touch with me, shoot me an email at the lifegivenandreceived@gmail.com, or reach out to me on the Life Given News on Facebook. Remember, we will be taking a 2-week break at after the middle of June here, and then we'll be coming back with season 2. Let me know in that interim and in that time off whether you like this new setup of doing multiple shows a week, and just give me feedback on just the show overall. Anyway, all of that being said, remember that the life that you've been given and the life that you have received includes every area of life. Why should current events be the exception? God bless.